Who everyone is a Drinking Disorderly podcast brought to you by Not Depression. For once, we are in a good place. Everyone's happy. Everyone's healthy. Actually, Erin has a migraine, but she got to spend the whole day with her family, I think. And, you know, when I spend the whole day with my family, I have a migraine, so I know where she's coming from. We actually have people populating really fast, and I think it is because we are trying a new thing where I create the room ahead of time so you can join the stream a couple minutes early because it's showing up, and then the video starts when we come in. So I really like this. We already have people in. Hello, Facebook. I hope you guys are doing great. We, our guest here in a little bit is going to be Thomas Queter, who's a friend of mine. We worked Dan Berman's campaign together, and he's running for whatever you libertarians run for nowadays. And
he'll tell us about it.
I'm really just hoping he's coming on in his bikini.
You're going to send him the link, right?
Yeah, I'll get it to him here in a few minutes. So a lot of stuff has been happening lately, guys. What are your thoughts on things? Scott, I'm going to send it to you because you don't get on here as often.
What do you mean? Hold on, I'm sharing stuff. I'm doing stuff, man. I was
okay, Dre, you go first.
So anything specific, or am I just supposed to pick out of the thin air? Because I haven't been paying a ton of attention because people are driving me crazy, but I'm trying to stay informed, you know, that fine line of sanity to over information.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should point this out as we're starting to get people populating in. We are as a media team podcast. Well, it's more than a podcast because it's our whole company, and there's a slight delineation there. We are proudly endorsing John Phillips Jr. for Region 6 representative. And it's purely because I think we can all agree, outside of our love of Erin and my obsession with my cousin, John's been the best LNC representative this cycle.
He has served us very, very well.
Yeah, John has kicked ass, and I don't think
know that
he's the type of fighter we need.
Yeah. When he is steadfast in his principles, and even it doesn't matter. We've seen almost the entire LNC go against him. He does not care. When he's got a principle, he's sticking to it.
Yeah, and we need that.
Yep.
And I like that we're the region that has the really rusty nail, or not the nail, like the nail that sticks up, or the rusty wheel. You know. Whatever your metaphor of choice is.
Squeaky wheel.
Oh
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Zach, you asked what's been going on. So, honestly, I've been kind of tuned out. Has there been drama going on? Because I haven't been really paying attention. I started my summer break this last week.
Hi, John.
Hi, John. We love you, brother.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. So I started so I've kind of been on vacation. I don't even know what day it is. I don't know what's,
So apparently there was, well, not apparently, there was another high-profile police shooting over the weekend.
Oh, shit.
And
this the Wendy's one?
Yeah, this one is not as clear-cut. I think there were a lot of mistakes made. I'm not as uncomfortable with that shot as I am with a lot of the other police shootings we've seen. But I don't think either of those dudes should be cops because you can't let something get as far as they did. And I think it was their fault that it got that far.
A big part of that job, law enforcement, is de-escalation, right? And if they don't, there's not enough training. There's not enough de-escalation training for the law enforcement officers.
We've seen it, though. Some departments do an amazing job, but they are few and far between that teach this de-escalation, you know? I've only seen it mentioned in a couple
here's
places.
The thing. We keep saying this. Sorry. We keep saying this about de-escalation training. The cop who shot had just gone through a 96-hour de-escalation training.
Sure.
So clearly the training didn't work.
Well,
or he slept through the whole thing.
I didn't watch the whole video. Like, I didn't watch like the conversation. I saw the initial conversation when he got out of the car and everything was still cordial. And then it seemed like, oh yeah, he went to go, I think, retrieve something out of the car and he just decided to run. And that's when they got into a scuffle, all three of them. And that's when he took one of their tasers.
Oh, so he took a taser and then got shot.
Yeah, that's why to me that's why this is a different.
He fired it.
Yeah.
Hey, don't take cops' tasers and they won't shoot you.
Yeah.
Usually.
Don't take anybody's weapon. They're gonna use it on you. If you get it back, they're gonna use it on you.
I think we need to have like real discussions about police taser use. Because it is a weapon that someone else can get a hold of. So we need to decide, is it a lethal weapon? And if so, then it was a clean shot. Or is it a non-lethal weapon, which it was not a clean shot? But at the same time,
that's not cut and dried because it's not always lethal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes it's totally fine. They just shock you once or whatever.
If you have a heart problem, that could be lethal.
Right. And, it doesn't always matter that either. Sometimes they pull the trigger too hard. I don't know. And they don't always carry the same kind. Like some of them, they can continually shock you and it's in your skin. Like that makes me sick to think about. There's electrodes inside my skin.
This one goes up to 11. Check it out.
God damn.
And, to me, it's like, do we want cops having another deadly weapon? Or are we going to say that it wasn't a deadly weapon, at which point then you need to charge the officers for murder? Because if it's not a deadly weapon, he was not a deadly danger, and you can't shoot someone in the back unless they pose a danger to someone else.
I think the cops should have to follow the same rules that we have to follow. Like if they're fleeing, you can't shoot them, right? I mean,
typically, but if someone's fleeing from you with a gun, that's different. Like
if you can say, you.
Yeah, they're not shooting at me, but they have a gun and there's people in that direction.
Well, this guy was doing both. He turned and shot
he
while he was
shooting,
running away, shooting over his shoulder at the cop.
Sure.
So that's like, you know what I mean? What are these? I don't know what they're supposed to do, honestly. I don't know.
I think,
don't have questions. I don't have these answers.
Live stream, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. See, we dropped viewers. We're losing viewers, man. People don't want to talk about this. People don't want to talk about this bullshit. Let's talk about how fucking nice the weather's been. And
dude. So I'm too fat to think this weather is nice. And this is the week where I'm like, you know what? I'm starting to feel better. I'm going to start going for walks every day. You
gotta go early. You gotta go early.
You're gonna have to go at 5 a.m.
Well, no, I walk on my break. So I go out and I walk like 10 minutes and then come back in and go back to work. It's not a lot, but as fat as I am, that's actually a decent exercise. It gets my heart rate up.
But you don't get overheated in 10 minutes, do you?
Well, the problem is this is the kind of shit that I wear.
Oh, you dumbass.
I'm gonna throw on my flannel and my kilt and I'm gonna go for a walk. And
like I was sitting up here earlier freezing and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the garbage out. I'm so cold.
Go sit in the sauna that is the outside.
Right. And it's just enough.
My house. Do you guys have problems like certain rooms of your house? Well, I guess, Dre, does it affect an apartment too?
Yeah, like our bedroom, I think John says it's the duct between the main room and that bedroom that needs to be cleaned, but it's always the wrong temperature in there, whatever season it is. If it's summer, it's hot. If it's winter, it's cold. But my old place was like that too in the bedroom. So I don't know if that's a duct thing or if that's how they're designed. I don't know. It's annoying.
We spent a lot of time and money on spray foam insulation, and we had a ridge vent installed because it was unbearable hot in the upstairs on the second floor.
What's a ridge vent?
A ridge vent is where they basically come in and chop off the top, the ridge of your roof, and they raise it up and they put a vent underneath it so that air can escape out of the attic.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So it really made a big difference, and for some reason it doesn't impact the winter months, like it doesn't make it colder in the winter. But I feel like it's pretty comfortable on the second floor. But I remember when we first bought into this house, man, it was like, I'm going to go sleep in the basement. You know what I mean? It was bad. It was bad. So plus we got a new AC and furnace and all that stuff. That's the joys of living in the same house for, coming up on 10 years. You know what I mean? You do things over time. So, yeah. So, yeah. What else has been going on?
I went to the pool today, right after I did all my household stuff I needed to get done.
Nice.
Did you wear a mask?
I'd never wear a mask. And I'm not getting my nails done. I'm not getting my hair done again until the mask business is done. I'm done with the mask business. If I have to wear a mask, I'm not doing it. I'm sick of reading stories about people getting sick because they've been working this whole time wearing masks, especially 19 and 20-year-olds who have been working, in grocery stores and retail and whatnot. And since they've been forced to wear masks and breathe in their own shit all day long, they're getting sick from that. That makes me so angry.
Yeah, the mask thing. It's weird. Like some places require it. Like I went to an eye appointment today, and they were like, "We have a mask for you," and I was like, "I've got my own." You know what I mean? It was kind of like, had I known, I probably would have put off the appointment because I hate it. You know what I mean?
I just wear it like here. Like if I have to go to Costco for whatever reason, I like put it on after I get in, halfway on. You know what I mean? I've seen people. Nobody wears them, right? Even that has to. So, and they're cloth and this and that. Like, give me a fucking break.
Right.
Why don't you just put fishnets over your face?
Yeah, it's kind of fun sometimes. Like, I'll wear them when I go to the grocery store. It makes me feel like a bandit. Like I'm raiding the grocery store, And then I stop and pay. But that's
right.
That's funny crap. Funny crap. Yeah, so no, I've been tuned out. Of a lot of the stuff. I've been kind of watching the toppling of the statues. I tuned into that a little bit.
That topic's just going to get me sad.
Yeah, I know it will. And I know other people that it makes them sad. Just simply the historical value.
We're not allowed to be sad about things.
I know.
Well, I mean,
I know.
I don't care about most of the statues.
How dare you have feelings?
I legitimately, and you guys know how much of a bitch I am, and I don't like violence. If I could put my hands on the motherfucker that defaced the Robert the Bruce statue, I would probably not stop until they went to the hospital. Yeah. That sincerely hurt my soul.
Yeah. And I get it. People are angry, people are upset, and they need to express that anger somehow. I wish they'd find a different way. Way to express it.
I wish people could, be master of their own domain and, master their feelings and keep them in check, don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. These are things adults do. We teach our children this when they are 3 years old and they go to nursery school. Don't hurt anybody and don't take their stuff. You go share and be nice.
Do people still teach their kids that? I don't know. I know I do mine, but.
I mean, I do. Treat others how you want to be treated, basically.
Yeah.
We live in a world. We live in a world where mommy and daddy, which is government for most people, aren't telling them that. The example is might makes right. So I don't know if you can even expect people to behave properly when the examples that they have in public aren't. And obviously, yes, we are all responsible for our own actions. That's not an excuse, but at the same time, I kind of get like, I think we all do a pretty good job fighting against this, but there's a culture of bullshit. Like people don't respect each other in our culture.
No, that's a huge problem right now. And I think that's just been going downhill in the last, probably 5-10 years, even more so than before. I've just noticed it a lot more.
Is it narcissism? What is it? Is people are so hyper-focused on themselves that they don't feel the empathy for others?
I think that, and maybe a little bit of social media. I mean, it's real easy to become a narcissist when you're taking selfies and getting likes all day long. And I think that the rise of social media, especially Instagram, and being able to make a living there is contributing to that at least a little bit.
Yeah. Do I need to get an Instagram, guys? Is that a thing that I need in my life?
Just play around with our Instagram. No one else uses it.
I post on it once a week.
So is it I'll have to look at it, but with the Mr. Z comedy, right? Like I do the meme a day. Is that something that would go on Instagram? Is that kind of how Instagram would work? Okay.
You can put people use it very, very differently. Like some people, a lot of people are models on there. A lot of people do food. A lot of people do whatever.
Ooh, I can be an Instagram comedian.
Yeah. Maybe you can get some endorsements over there. That'd be awesome.
Right. That'd be cool.
Instagram comedy is brought to you by Bowling Shirts.
Converse 1 stars and Red Cap. and Red Cat work shirts. Yeah, those are my sponsors. I need them. Make it go. Make it go.
Instagram actually has a lot better ability to like generate income than Facebook.
Yeah,
because it's a lot easier for people to do sponsorship deals and stuff. Facebook's just
sure.
It was a great way for us to start to build our audience, but it's not a great sustainable place to grow a media company.
Yeah, I don't even know how to go after sponsors over there, honestly. I wouldn't have the faintest idea where to start.
Once you build a big enough audience, they start finding you.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, we're pretty far away from a big audience on there right now. I have no idea what the numbers are, but they're not that impressive.
You should just start taking pictures of your cats. And if you can hold your cat, if you've got cats too. Facebook or Instagram loves cats.
I got amazing cats, dude.
He has Maine Coons.
I got these big ass Maine Coons. They look like they weigh about 50 pounds apiece, but they're not. They're just big and floofy, right? So
I told Elfie that if she got a cat, and so we're kind of looking into it, we have to get rid of the pigeons first. And by get rid of, I mean they have to go to a home where someone actually knows how to deal with them, because we don't. We just rescued them.
Oh.
But we're gonna get one of those cats because they're big enough that I won't just be annoyed by it.
Yeah. They're very slow and just kind of like, hey, what's going on? I'll hang out with you for a while and then I'll go do my own thing, right?
Yeah.
Is it the same with cats as with dogs, where like with dogs, the smaller the dog, the more it feels like it has to prove something?
No.
Because cats are mostly indifferent. These are just...
Cats are just little assholes. Yeah. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
Cats know they don't have to prove anything to you, no matter what their size is.
Yeah. So I've been deep into... My son is obsessed with YouTube, so I decided I was going to get obsessed with YouTube too, and see what the appeal is. And I just can't get enough. YouTube goes deep, right?
Yes.
But people should go to our YouTube channel and like and subscribe. I was perusing our channel. We've got some really good content on there that I think people could really get into. If you're into going down those rabbit holes, those YouTube rabbit holes, you should go and find us at Drunken Disorderly Media on YouTube, right? So checking that out. We want to get those subscribers up. I think I personally set the goal. I want us to get to 1,000 subscribers. So let's do it. Do it. Just by it's not a SMART goal, Zach. What the hell are you thinking? Yeah, it's just a goal. It's a dream. It's a pipe dream.
The first goal is 100, because then they will give us a URL that protects our domain name. So it would be youtube.com/drunken disorderly.
Oh, so we only need like 11 more to get that, right? Or we had 79.
20, I think.
Yeah. Should I share the link to our page? I'll share it in the comments. I'll share it in the comments, right?
Please don't give us a subscribe. That will help us immensely, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's more about your numbers to get monetized. You would need I think it's 10,000 minutes every 2 months or something like that.
Don't give away the secrets, man.
Everyone knows that.
Yes.
Not everyone.
But yeah, shit, watch us on YouTube, man. If you're watching it, go to YouTube instead and watch us, or Twitch. What?
Are we live on YouTube right now?
Yeah, we're live on everything. We're live on Periscope. That's why we have Twitter people on here. We're live on Twitch, although it appears that all of my friends have abandoned me tonight. And we're live on YouTube and Facebook.
Come back, guys.
Twitch. Come on, dudes. Maybe you beat them up too much at D&D last night.
Dude.
How has that been going?
Great.
I have not been tuning in because you know how much interest I have in Dungeons and Dragons.
So last night we finished our first campaign.
Nice.
Elfie and Fuckboy lost to Eric and Eldred.
Am I to assume your first campaign from when you first started doing this months ago? Are you kidding me?
Well, we've missed a couple weeks, but yeah, a campaign lasts for a few months.
Yep.
Oh my God! No wonder I never got into this. They knew better than to even ask.
Well, you can make a one shot to where you're done in a few hours, but it's not as fun as like a campaign where you got to go fight the dragon and you're starting at level 1. Like that's about it's Lord of the Rings, man.
Okay, so I enjoyed the Dungeons and Dragon cartoon that was on Saturday mornings in the 80s, but like I could not imagine a card game being anywhere near as fun or as interesting as that. I don't know.
Not a card game. This is Magic. This is a different thing.
It's a storytelling game.
Yeah.
It's a choose your own adventure storytelling game. So
okay, yeah. So you have the 16-sided die, right, and a book, and
or 20-sided, or yeah.
Do they make 16-sided die?
Oh no! See, I have no.
I don't have a 16-sided die. We got a 12. We got a 10, 20.
Oh, there is one, but it is fugly looking.
Yeah. All right, maybe. All right. Well, I stand corrected. Dre, go ahead. Well, just another thing that Dre's an expert at. Go for it, girl.
So the only form I've actually seen this in is digital. Like somebody had an app on their phone that they'd be like, dink, roll it. And it was a stupid bar game. Like they'd make each other drink like a shot, and it would be like mayonnaise and ketchup and ranch, or like they'd let the kitchen decide what the shot was going to be. It was going to be like condiments, and maybe there'd be booze in it, but typically not. It was typically something disgusting. And then if they got it down, they didn't have to pay the tab, but there was some way to figure out, like somebody was always responsible for the tab, and that's how they figured it out. It's a really silly way, but whatever.
You guys are weird. Anyway, so it's about that
I was
time.
not involved in that bullshit.
Are you guys ready to...
We got a guest, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got a guest.
So Thomas is running for New York Senate seat 52. I don't know, man. It's New York.
Let him tell it. Anyway, we got to sit down with him at Tip Fest. It was great. He's got plenty to say about the healthcare industry, being a disabled fellow who the government tried to say he did not have legs, but he did have feet.
Okay, so without further ado, here's Thomas. How's it going, bud?
Hey, how's it going, Zach? Long time no talk.
Yeah, hey. Man. How's it been?
It's been an interesting day. We spent, 8 or 9 hours on the road today?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Where were you traveling to and from?
Well, all over district, actually. My campaign manager is here, and he wanted to see the layout of the land, and we did a little tour. We met a few people. I kissed some hands and shook some babies. You know how that goes.
Nice. That's how it's done.
No, so but it's shaping up finally. The COVID-19 thing is finally starting to kind of dwindle. I mean, even if they're going to keep applying more rules, people are sick of it.
I'm glad to see that you're just regarding all that and out there touching and kissing people, though. That's amazing. That's the way I do it.
Look, I've been at risk of death for things like the common cold and the flu my entire life. I've turned blue more times than I can recount to tell you. So another virus, look, the point of the matter is the government cannot stop a virus. And if you know anything about communicability, you can maybe prevent yourself from getting sick initially or right away. But sooner or later, you're going to be exposed. And you're going to have to deal with that. And for me, that doesn't entail standard health care. It doesn't work for me. They don't know how to handle me. So if I get sick with it, I'm going to have to treat it myself anyhow. So I'm not in a position to be afraid of it.
Yeah. So people, I keep seeing this everywhere. People seem to forget that when this started, the correspondence was, you are going to get this at some point. Everyone will. We're just trying to smooth it out so it's not all at once. Right. Which, given everything that we've learned since then, was probably the worst way to handle it, because we just left people in their houses to stew all day. But
well, perhaps in New York, people should have stayed home for a little while.
People were getting sick in their houses in New York.
Oh, were they?
Well, all right. So in New York, the first thing everybody did was they ran right out to Walmart and licked each other over canned baked beans and toilet paper. I don't know how long they thought those hordes of toilet paper were going to last in conjunction with those hordes of baked beans, but that's what happened. And my first reaction was, Well, I'm not going to Walmart. And thank you for the plug on the website. I see that going across. TomFor52.com. So the other things that we did was we didn't really protect our healthcare workers initially like we should have. And we didn't protect the infirm, those in elderly or disability homes.
I would argue that your governor murdered people in elderly homes by the policies that he had.
Absolutely.
That man should be charged for murder for what he did.
As well as every person in the legislature that voted to give him the power to do what he did.
So, can you explain that a little bit? Because, like, I have a periphery understanding, but I don't think all of our viewers have been able to pay attention to every state's random bullshit about COVID.
Right.
So, can you explain the story of what happened there?
Well, what I can tell you is that they made efforts to keep the hospitals freed up or empty. That makes a lot of sense when you have a lot of sick people. Don't you think medical attention or medical care is something that they should be trying to report or provide? Meanwhile, we actually had hospitals laying off staff because they were doing nothing and they weren't making any money because none of the sick people were coming in. Not even people sick with other disorders. A friend of mine up the road, she is the secretary of the Chenango County Libertarian, formerly ICO, now CO. Is that right, Tucker?
Not quite yet, but
almost. My campaign manager happens to be the vice chair of the state party. I'm just going to brag about that. He's going to come over and say hi here in a minute.
Fine.
Yeah, see, come on over.
All right.
He's going to pretend to be one of those avatars that you see leaning in from the side. I'll go ahead.
Hello.
If you can't figure it out, I'm short and he's tall.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
We all wear
But
many
another
hats
thing
in
that
this
they
fight
did-
for liberty.
Another thing that they did was they took the elderly in particularly when they needed to be tested or were sick, they took them to the hospital and then they returned them to the homes, retirement homes, or as I like to call them, they're institutions, right? They're if you're not allowed to leave, it's a prison. I'm sorry, that's just where I'm at with that. So they literally forced the spread of COVID among those who were at risk. Our highest death rates are in our elderly institutions. In fact, I think they're dominantly in the elderly institutions. And when the way they differentiate between essential and non-essential personnel, especially in the beginning, healthcare workers were essential. And what happens is, in New York State in particular, you can't make a decent living most of the time being a single position healthcare worker, which means you're going from one home to another because you have two jobs. You might be a day shift at one and a night shift at another. You might do hospice or home care where you see a bunch of individuals. And that's what allows you to actually make enough money to live on, sort of, in that profession. So they pretty much mandated that these people spread the virus. I mean, you're handling people who are at risk. You're handling people who have the virus, and you're going to move on to the next person who's at risk, and you're going to handle that person. And there were some reports of certain institutions literally telling their staff not to use PPE like masks and sanitizer because that might distress them emotionally.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So should they just stop washing their hands too? I mean, Jesus.
Well, it's not about stop washing their hands, but to make a deal of the PPE in front of the patient. I don't understand it either. I really don't. They all really should have been doing it anyhow because the death rates in our institutions from the flu regularly every season is pretty high. maybe PPE should be standard and utilized at all times when you're dealing with people with suppressed immune systems.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then of course they had to kill the economy. That's good old New York. They'll do anything to kill the economy.
Well, so like the policy in New York up until May 11th was to force someone back into the nursing home if they were sick.
Yep.
The nursing homes were trying to fight it for obvious reasons, and it wasn't
Maybe
until
they knew what they were doing.
yeah. But government knows more about healthcare than healthcare providers. So,
well, the interesting thing here is New York has an Office of Advocacy for those with disabilities, which in New York specifically includes the elderly and even drug addicts, both of which would have compromised immune systems. It's on the books. And when the Justice Center, get this, the Justice Center reorganized, the office ceased to function. So it's on paper. It does nothing. Being in New York, I'm sure it's funded and the money is used somewhere else. But I haven't actually found the details on that. Point being, this is one of those New York policies that I always tell people, it's just like Stewart from Saturday Night Live. They do something stupid and they say, look what I can do.
Huh.
And it doesn't work.
look what I can do.
Oh, you do better than I do.
I
Yeah.
loved that show. But yeah, you're totally right.
So, I mean, there's a lot going on in New York with the COVID-19 situation. And the unfortunate thing is that because of what the governor's done with the permission of the legislature, no incumbents in New York, vote no incumbents in New York. Most of them voted for it. And I think it's a very large, dominant share that voted for it. If you're going to give the governor that much power, you don't belong in the legislature. You're there to do the opposite. You're there to restrain them or have a say or make sure that things are looked at properly. You're not there to just nod your head yes and say, okay. But that's not it. The governor's not a dictator, right? Maybe a cock potato, but not a dictator. Yeah, I said that. So,
Well, Cuomo thinks he's, royalty, so he's even above that. He thinks.
yeah.
I'm very surprised he didn't run for president in this cycle. Unless he thought that no one was going to beat Trump and then everything fell apart.
I honestly think he will never run for president personally. I think that's too much work.
Huh.
He doesn't like work. We've seen that.
Yeah.
So he does make all of his decisions for policy without any advice from those who could tell him what people that policy affects need. I think he cut $75 million from CDPAP last year, and that's basically home care, right? So he got the funding for home care for people with disabilities and the elderly.
What a great guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, even before this, there was a 5,000-person lawsuit against the state of New York for false imprisonment because they had gone through the hoops through social services to go home and weren't allowed to go home.
Wow.
Okay, so the reason Dre's over here turning shades and looking all nervous. So on our Twitch, if you go to twitch.tv and then we are Drunken Disorderly Media on there, some of the things that you can do, we have chat points. So if you're in our chat, you're engaging, you're staying with us for all of our streams, you'll accumulate chat points. And some of the options that we have, there's kind of the standard ones where you can unlock emotes, which we don't have any yet. We actually Scott and I probably need to get together and figure out what our emotes should look like. Something we need to talk about. But for a very large number of points, Dre is volunteering to put her feet on stream for a few seconds so you can all bask in the glory and the wonderful inside joke that we've been pushing for about a year now. So Dre, actually, no one has turned it in tonight, but on the last stream, because I got kicked out from a storm, no one was there to let Dre know when someone had redeemed. So that person is now in chat, Dre, and they would like to see your feet.
All right, here you go.
They called the question.
Oh, let me turn that around.
Oh yeah, fix your ring. There you go.
God damn it. I don't know, you guys. Where to put these?
You have legs attached to your feet. The government didn't try to take them.
No, they didn't. I'm lucky there. Lucky me.
Feet.
Nice tattoos.
Thank you.
Yeah,
There's
what are your
another one
tattoos?
here. Dancing bear, that's a cover up of a frog. And there's an A over here. Can you guys see that? There you go. All right.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's your
Our viewers spiked.
They'll be popular in Japan.
Japan, have you looked in libertarian forums when there's semi-attractive females involved? Like nowhere near Dre's level?
That's funny.
You
guys are awesome.
Disorderly, right? But I don't drink.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's fine.
Let's talk about your campaign a little bit and what it's like campaigning during the COVID crisis, where you are still dealing with people that are super paranoid and super. How do you get the message out to them to vote for you? How do you connect with those voters?
Well, that's been the difficult part. We had a whole lot of in-person events set up, and they got canceled. So it's largely social media and preparing for the push when we can. The COVID-19 disrupted more than daily life around here. Most of my volunteers, if they weren't in a situation where their job was jeopardized, they were in a situation where their job hours spiked over COVID. My previous campaign manager bowed out because he worked for the hospital system and he was an IT manager and 12 hours a day, 7 days a week doesn't leave you a whole lot to work with. And, it's been tough. And then we have these protests and riots. And my volunteers are from all over, both in district, both all over the state, and all over the country. I have volunteers in Massachusetts. I have volunteers in Florida. Pretty sure I have volunteers in Connecticut. And there's a guy out in, I can't remember if it's Idaho or the state next to it. But
one of those innies.
Right. So everybody got their own problems with this. And, it slowed us up a little bit. I'll be honest. It did. But, thankfully, Tucker, whom you met a minute ago briefly, has really stepped up to the challenge. He's really organized things the last couple of weeks. We're really gaining some traction. We went all over district today. And like I said, we met some people and we got some, I want to say we have some heavier hitters on the campaign now, and that's awesome.
Nice.
The website went up and came together.
Are you calling them fat?
Say that again?
Are you calling them fat?
Who, Tucker? No, he's a straight game.
You said they were heavy hitters.
Oh, well, if Michael's watching, I was not calling Michael fat.
I'll be right back. Gotta grab a beer.
I'm probably the fattest one on the campaign.
So,
but if I'm the one that's running, if I'm the one to be a politician, then obviously I have to be fat and sweaty and loud and obnoxious, right?
It's a sign of wealth and power.
Right? Little do they know that I eat roadkill. I mean, there's nothing better than 50 pounds of free meat on the side of the road.
Is that true?
Yeah, actually. So I live in a very rural area, and I have family members that their jobs entail driving rural roads early in the morning. They don't. It's been a long time since one of them hit a deer, but they quite often witness it. And
Oh.
when you see an injured animal, it's the right thing to put it down. And
Sure.
if it's got 50 pounds of fresh, good, usable meat on it, why would you let that go to waste?
Why would you waste it?
Right. Actually, in Alaska, it's illegal to not use your roadkill.
Didn't know
It's
that.
funny. I think here it's illegal to use your roadkill because we
Wow.
we have to tag. Every deer has a tag, basically.
Everything's got to be tagged. Yeah.
Yeah.
But think about it in Alaska. They have those large moose up there.
Yeah.
It's almost worth buying a junker just to hit a moose so that you had to eat it.
I don't know, man. I don't know if you could find a junker strong enough to go through a full-size moose.
Right.
Well, you don't have to go through it, really. I mean, technically, you just have to put it into a situation in which you would have to put it down, I
Oh.
guess.
You just
I
got to
wouldn't
injure it
recommend
enough.
doing that. I mean, if you're going to
Wait,
kill an
wait.
animal, you should do it properly.
Why are we killing moose?
We're talking about roadkill
Food?
and eating roadkill.
Gray's a vegetarian, so
Oh, I'm sorry, Greg.
That face
That's
right
okay.
there says it all.
I've never heard of anyone eating roadkill.
so is the theme of tonight just we're all going to make Drea feel uncomfortable the whole evening?
No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
No.
you guys will have to try harder.
Yeah.
Please. I haven't eaten meat since I was a little kid because I didn't like the taste or the texture, any of that business. So I have respect for people who hunt and, make use of the entire animal and do so in, a respectful way. Couldn't be, more do your thing,
It's not for you.
At the same
Right.
token, I'm against factory farms. I don't like the
Thank
way they
you.
operate. I don't
They're
like
awful.
the lives they give those animals.
Sure.
I grew up a small rural farmer, and we do believe that you use as much of that animal as you can, and that you give it a happy life first. And this is a hard topic for some people to talk about, but if you have to kill an animal, wouldn't you want it to be done quickly and effectively without
Quick and
suffering
clean.
or pain?
Yes.
South Carolina, you can kill as many deer as you want.
Do they
I'll be
have
driving
a
through
Okay,
next
but
month.
to be fair, the deer in South Carolina are like puppies compared to the deer that we have here. And then the further north you go from here, they're getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
My
I've never-
cousin
They have a
caught
shit
deer in
ton of tiny
Tennessee.
deer
What's
in
that?
South Carolina. Is that what's going on over there? They have a shit ton of tiny little deer.
Well, I mean, I just know in the South, like the animals in the because there's not farming the same way in the South. The animals aren't getting a hold of corn that's been genetically modified to put fat on the body. Like that's why we have such a bad obesity epidemic around here. It's the corn, actually.
That makes me
Because
sad.
of that, their animals are a good 100 to 200 pounds lighter.
Oh, geez.
Well, that's not the only reason. There's actually a genetic variation, and it has
Oh,
more.
right. They're definitely, but yeah.
Yeah, that has more to do with actually the climate and the heat and being able to thrive in the climate.
That
Texas
makes sense.
deer, by the way, are the smallest.
Wow. I guess not everything is bigger in Texas.
Oh!
Oh,
Texas people have tiny dicks. Dre said it, not
Whoa.
me.
whoa, whoa. Hold on.
Actually, Elfie's from Texas. And y'all know how fucking small she is.
Right.
I think
Texas.
I don't know. She's always wearing heels, so I don't know if she's taller or shorter than me.
The reason she's always wearing heels. That's all I'm saying.
Fuck heels.
Right.
She's
I
watching
like-
too, so I'll hear about this one.
That's so funny. Yeah, I just they don't feel good.
I was listening to you guys talking about wanting 1,000 YouTube subscribers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got a dream, right?
Well, I'll sell you 1,000 YouTube subscribers for $1,000. How about that? Donate to my.
We'll gladly take your donation of $1,000.
I love you, dear.
Elfie.
You've got to be more specific with those kind of comments, Elfie. Sorry.
Oh, it's definitely directed at one person. We all know.
It's not a me. I know that.
Can I take credit?
I'm
Sure.
scared of her. Yeah. That's
Ah.
funny.
So, I have to say I'm a little disappointed.
In
that
what?
you came on here without your bikini.
I had heard her talk about this. What's going on, Thomas?
Well, you're gonna have to come to Orlando to find out.
All right,
We'll
Trey
be
will
there.
be there. So
I'll be there.
And Scott.
On Media Row.
If the plan works out well, I will be bringing fresh alligator meat.
Oh God.
Nice. I'm in.
I'm sure my husband will sample. You can give some
can
to
you
Scott.
give
thank
them a baggie to freeze and bring back to me? I want to try alligator.
We could probably ship it to you. Yeah.
There you go. Dry ice and all that jazz. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me know. I'll send you the money for it.
Being specific
So
now.
interestingly, I was originally planning to go to Austin, right? And I
Yeah.
started that fundraiser. The miles is much farther, and I have to use a rental van.
Oh, yeah.
Which, by the way, New York State, good old Cuomo, rental vehicles went from an 8% tax to a 20% tax this year.
Jesus.
Yep.
Holy crap.
Talk about a fucking hike. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fuck taxes.
So, my personal vehicle is not up to snuff to make that trip, right? So I went with the rental. And all things included, including a stop to see somebody that I've been wanting to see for 20 years. It was going to be about $6,500 to make that trip. Because I can't take a plane. I can't take a train. The accessibility for someone like me just isn't there. The train ride is going to be too rough. And a fun fact, the most commonly damaged cargo on a plane is a wheelchair.
Does that
believe
go
that.
under with the luggage, or is there's no way that can be carried on to the?
It's disrespect, basically.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Well, think about it. If you're loading or unloading the plane, if you're one of those workers, and you come across a wheelchair,
I mean, I would think you would handle with extra care because that's something that you can't exactly get replaced immediately, and it's detrimental to your
Right.
life.
so
It's
here's
not
the thing:
just an outfit.
if it's not the individual workers, then it's whoever sets up the protocol for loading and unloading.
Yeah.
So they may be following the rules.
I would think there's got to be a way to like attach, because like the movie theaters around here have a place where you can like basically park the wheelchair in the spot, and that's
Yeah.
a seat.
Yeah, there's just not a seat there. It's you put your wheelchair.
They're not
in
going to do that in an airplane, though. They want to have.
Yeah.
They actually do. The problem with
Do they?
that is that you're limited in your flights, and
Yeah.
you're limited in where you can go. Not all planes load from a dock from the building. It's not. Sometimes you have to go up those stairs or down those stairs, or you might have a connecting flight that's a smaller plane.
Sure.
So that's really limiting. But ultimately, what it comes down to is that this chair is 550 pounds.
Sure.
Oh wow, I had no idea they weighed that much.
Well, he's got
Well, it
like a
has a
fully
heat-tempered
motorized one.
steel frame.
Well, I understand that, but I had no idea it weighed that much.
It has 111 pounds of batteries. And it has an oil bath transaxle.
No,
Yeah.
you're carrying liquids.
So I terrified Tucker earlier today when I was showing him the backyard and what the chair will do.
Sure,
And
you're
it was
tearing
very
it up.
minor, actually, what I did. It was nothing that I would consider crazy. Just a help. But no, this thing has some power. But the real thing about this wheelchair is the suspension. That's what protects me. Most wheelchairs today, they don't have much for suspension. I've actually seen power wheelchairs with fake springs on them, right? They're just attached to the outside as if, hey, look, it has suspension, but it doesn't function.
Right.
So anyhow, I was talking about Austin, right? So I started this fundraiser right before the COVID-19, and it hit $1,000 pretty quickly. But then the lockdown happened, and I wasn't going to push a fundraiser for something that I couldn't be sure was even going to happen, right? So we stalled it, and the minute we knew Orlando was going forward, I recalculated my expenses, and that brought it down $3,000, believe it or not.
Nice.
The hotel was much cheaper, and less miles. So there was also more accessibility in the Orlando hotel, but in Florida,
Really?
you kind of expect that.
Sure.
So that hit like pretty quickly. It got to like $2,400 pretty quickly after that. But I was still lacking people to drive. I had no drivers lined up because we had stalled everything. I wasn't going to line up drivers for something I didn't know was going to happen. Interestingly enough, my cousin and his boyfriend were at the Pittsburgh protest. Remember that? And according to their eyewitness accounts, from their perspective and the location they were in, it was not a riot until a gentleman 15 feet away got his eye shot out by a rubber bullet. And
I mean, that would cause me to riot if I saw that, to be fair.
yeah. And I've been working on this cousin of mine, Dale, for some time to bring him to the golden side, right?
Nice.
And finally, after that, he sent me a message. He wanted to know about Joe Jorgensen. So I told him what I knew and gave him the website and everything. And he was all about it. And then he started saying things like, my tax dollars paid for that tear gas I inhaled.
Yep.
And now he and his boy, he got 10 days off of work, and he and his boyfriend are driving me to Orlando with a stop in Alabama.
Awesome.
So we'll get to meet them too? Are they coming to the
Yeah.
convention?
Yeah, we're splitting the room.
Oh,
Nice.
amazing. So I will be there on Media Row. Scott is a delegate. I think Zach is skipping it.
I couldn't hold the funds for something I didn't know was going to happen, and I'm
Right.
still weary of it not happening. So
Me too.
Me too. That's why I haven't booked it yet, but it's on my list.
The
tomorrow.
closer it gets, the more of a reality it gets, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, there's less and less certain people can do to stop it at this point.
Right. Right.
Well, if
So
you follow
I'm not
me on
worried.
Facebook, I'm all for smuggling me. Smuggle me 2020.
My concern, my concern has shifted from people making it not happen to the state of Florida making it possibly not happen.
Sure.
They're letting wrestling events start having live fans, so I don't think they're going to start going the other way anytime.
Right.
I
So-
think that governor is basically just done with the whole idea.
Okay, so I thought that they were supposed to reevaluate like every 2 weeks or something like that, and that could
Which
affect.
is what they're
Sure.
doing.
Yeah,
Which is
Okay.
exactly what they're doing.
but
Um,
what that means is every 2 weeks they're letting more and more things happen, not less, to be honest.
For now.
In Florida.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit in Florida.
Yeah.
Carol Baskin,
I hate Florida. I hate Florida.
Ugh, that bitch. Speaking of which, you guys, not next week. We got Alex Merced next week, but the week after that, we have Joshua Dial from the Tiger King.
Nice.
I can't
Tell
wait.
them both I
We're
said
like
hi.
the last podcast to get him. Whatever.
Well, I didn't want to overburden him, and I didn't also want to be one of those people who pounces. Rather, I just
Yeah.
called him and said, "Hey, what can I send you? What do you need?" We sent him a couple things and some cash and a laptop, until he could get a better one.
Mhm.
So it almost felt like people were, what is the word?
They were milking him for views. Not
Yeah,
everyone. There were, and here's the thing.
he's not a circus freak. I don't want to do that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I'm going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and say that while they probably wanted the views from that, they probably also wanted to help him. So,
Yeah.
Oh, John Phillips says check your concealed carry reciprocity in Florida, just in case. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a damn good idea.
So you got to check when you road trip. You got to check everywhere, right? So
Everywhere along the way on your trip.
The Second
Yeah.
Amendment is my concealed carry license.
I can do what I want. Yeah.
So, are
Yeah.
you guys Are you guys paying attention to the international news that's coming out? Like basically right now, China and India are bickering over their border, and people got murked.
Oh, I did
Oh,
not
no.
hear anything about that one.
Yep. 20 Indian soldiers were killed in a clash with Chinese forces. No one knows what China's losses were.
Wow.
China is just fucking everything up right now. That's what they fucked up COVID. Now they're fucking up and starting a war with India. It means nukes are gonna fly. Half the planet's gonna disappear.
China, figure your
It's
shit
about
out.
time. It's about time.
Figure it out.
You know, it was a long time ago, maybe 6-8 years. I saw something about China's agricultural region was losing a 10-mile swath per year of viable agricultural land.
Are they not rotating properly?
To what? Or what do you mean?
I think it's largely from use of heavy chemical fertilizers and the like.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And
They don't give a
if
fuck.
they're losing that much land per year of their what happens to a country that loses its agriculture?
Oh
It
shit!
starves.
And they are
gets
the,
hungry.
like what? The biggest country on earth?
It
Most
gets
populated.
hungry.
So China and India are the two most populated countries in the world, and they already have a huge problem feeding their people. China, it's because communism. India, it's because India has been fucked up since Britain got a hold of it.
I don't know. The Indians would eat rats.
I'm not saying they're going to starve anytime soon.
Based on-
I'm just saying they're poor as fuck, and that's not like a judgment call. It's just their economy's shit. And
Well,
a lot of
it's
it's
not
leftover colonialism.
Yeah, but you know, there's some things messed up in India, that's for sure. But
there's a
so,
lot.
I've never been to India. I'm not an expert on India.
Oh yeah, and I'm not talking about the
From
people.
what I know of it, there's actually a higher rate of happiness in India when people are polled.
I mean, their religion is a lot happier than ours. Like the major religion of America is Christianity, but American Christianity is a very bitter, angry religion.
Puritan based.
Yeah. Whereas, like, it's Hindus and Buddhists. Like,
Yeah, that's
those are happy religions by comparison.
Like, I would be super happy if I could just go outside and there was a cow and I could go hug it. Sorry.
And
That would make
and
my
they don't
fucking
eat
day.
them, so that would make you happy too.
Dre, if you'd like to hug a cow, I could make that happen.
Please.
Yeah, we
There's
can make
cow-
that
How
happen.
far away do I have to travel to do this?
I quit
Uh,
drinking personally,
I'll
so
find
it's
someplace
not going to
close.
happen for me.
What's that?
I said I quit drinking personally, so that's not going to happen for me. No cow hug.
So, my
They're so cute.
my mother-in-law, their land is basically surrounded by a farm. It's like there's this one plot of land and then a road to the main highway, and then everything else is like a farmer's land. And every time we go out there, there will be a cow like in their backyard, just chilling.
They're pretty docile
Oh,
animals.
yeah, I mean they don't have bulls, and you know the cows are fat and happy, so
right.
it's not factory farming where all those cows are in a pen together getting
Right.
fed slop, you know.
Fucking miserable cows, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually legitimate to feed them chicken manure and a whole lot of other horrible things like ground up SPCA animals once they're put down.
Sure.
They feed that to the cattle, and then they feed you the cattle.
I thought the cattle were herbivores.
The cattle will eat whatever you put in front of them as long as it doesn't taste bad.
Right.
They're not as
They'll
bad
chew-
as pigs, but they're gonna eat a lot of things.
Not as bad as goats, but they'll eat your shirt. Yeah.
But they're only supposed to eat, like, there's food that's good and for
Yeah.
bad for cows,
Yeah.
right? Like, what are they not? They're supposed to eat grass, right? Not corn.
well, vegetation, yeah, that's their primary diet. But picture a cow grazing through a field, and picture how many insects are in that field. There's no way they're not eating protein.
And probably some rodents.
Right. And, you know, any animal that's hungry will eat anything that's in front of it if it thinks it can or should. So the way they were getting, well, I don't know as if they still do this anymore. I did a research paper in high school. I did an independent study for Health 2. That's where I found out all this fun information that made me eat organic and locally sourced food. The industry back then, you had to cook the chicken manure to be legal to feed to the cattle. And you could do that in the sun out west or down south, or you could use a machine to do it. And that was to get rid of pathogens. However, being anything withheld or held to a regulatory body, they didn't follow the rules often enough. Then you have the SPCA rejects cats and dogs, right? Anything put down in a shelter. Do you know how many chemicals are pumped into those poor animals before and as they die?
Yeah.
And there again, that was cattle feed. And the other thing they don't like to tell you is that they can cut the cancer off the beef and then sell you the beef.
This is why we've been getting all of our food from the local butcher who has like his own sources, because
It's the way to do it.
just
Yep.
good meats. No one beats our meat.
Right.
72nd, no, 84th and right
L.
off of the interstate. Yeah, L.
There's
84th
something to be
between L
said
and
for
Freeway.
living in an ag state, you know?
Yeah.
It's good to know your farmers.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
look, New York is actually an ag state too once you get out of the fucking
Absolutely.
city.
Absolutely.
You have two states though. They really need to section off the city and
They
make it its own
should.
fucking state.
You know, there's a lot of pushes for that, but a
Because
fair amount
the
of my
city has all the
volunteers are
voters,
in
it's
New
not
York
gonna
City, so I'm
happen.
not going to speak to that right now.
All right, so we're hitting past an hour here. How about you send us home? Give us your best pitch, and we'll get out of here.
Well, I am Thomas Daniel Quitter, running for Senate in District 52 in New York. Never quitter and rarely quieter. And all I really want to see is an improvement to the systems we have. They have been made deliberately inefficient, and I believe that we can either cut the cost or improve the return on many services for those with disabilities, those on welfare of any kind, breaks for businesses that are out there. You know, these are all inefficient systems, and this is New York, and I can't say burn the whole thing down because that's wrong. So let's seek to improve it, and vote for me, vote Tom. And actually, one other thing, it is not uncommon for someone in a fit of disgust with the New York State government to say that someone should blow that place up, drop a bomb on Albany. To that, I say drop toms, not bombs.
Love
I love it. You have so many good slogans.
We
And
probably need to just hire you to come up with slogans because we don't have great luck with that.
Absolutely. Yes.
well, I actually pitched you two. You asked for a good pitch. I gave you two slogans.
You did.
it.
No, we meant for us later.
All right. So,
We'll
as
definitely
Dre said, we have Alex.
Oh,
said,
I do need to ask. My
Yeah.
campaign manager is in my ear, and he'll probably slap me if I don't say it. But please go to tomfor52.com and donate $1 to $5, $100. If you got $10,000, I'll take it. But that's kind of a joke. Clapping my hands for money. I'm very bad at asking for money, and I'm learning. So
Libertarians are bad at asking for money.
We don't like to do it. I get it.
it's one of the hardest things to do is to ask for money. But here's the point, right?
But go give them a couple bucks. Go give $3, $4, $5.
Yeah, if we don't get enough money off the ground here in the next couple of months, we're going to have some troubles. And a $5 donation is $5 I didn't have before.
All right.
And those dollars go a lot further in a libertarian campaign than they do in others. So those
Yes.
they're used much, much wiser, are they not?
Libertarians do more with less.
Yep, we have to.
Always.
So
Always.
Which is why we'll balance the budget when we get in. We already know how to do more with less. So,
all right, guys, yes, we have Vice Chair Alex Merced next week. I can't
Yep.
wait to talk to him. It's been a while.
yeah. He's been busy. We have no Drunken Dragons this week because we're using Monday to actually roll up the characters for the next game and get some new players in. So we'll see you all next Tuesday. Tomorrow on our audio platform on Anchor, my new episode comes out, and then either Thursday or Friday, this podcast will come out in audio form. So like, share, and subscribe. And yes, Brandon, if you come back and have enough points, you can get more feet next Tuesday. We'll see y'all next week.
Tom,
Bye.
predict